The CBS Sports family of networks, the highest standard in sports television, including the CBS Sports Network, Showtime Sports, CBSSports.com, and the CBS Sports Radio Network. The best in sports online, on radio, and on the air. CBS Sports. Expect it here.
They are the maestros of mechanics, the conductors of a symphony of tools and parts coming together to ensure that perfect notes of harmony are forthcoming at just the required downbeat. These are the men and women who orchestrate the magical sounds that riders, fans, and television announcers alike all long to savor. The instruments they play are made of steel and aluminum. Their percussion resonates with the rhythm of air wrenches. A crescendo is sounded as bolts, belts, and cables are tensioned. When all is in tune, all at perfect pitch, a wondrous salutation follows. And it is then that years of practice, long nights of study, and often moments of self-doubt coalesce into a resounding fanfare, heralding once again that the world of racing is at its proper tempo.
Barber Motorsports Park, a magnificent racing facility that's as much park as it is world-class road course. Here, founder George Barber created a beautifully unique atmosphere of flower power and horsepower, side by side in perfect harmony. Welcome everyone to Birmingham, Alabama, and the third round of the 2013 GEICO Motorcycle AMA Pro Racing Series, with this pre-race show presented by 1-800-Motorcycle. Our coverage of both the GoPro Daytona Sport Bike and the National Guard Superbike Championship Series will start in less than 30 minutes, and that gives us time to showcase this magnificent tribute to one man's vision. It also includes the world's finest collection of historic and unique motorcycles, housed in a 5-story museum right next to the track. In this museum, you'll find a collection of over 1,300 significant motorcycles, over 750 of which are on public display. One thing these works of art has in common is they were all designed and built by extremely talented men and women. Just like the folks who will make sure this weekend's races will be filled with exciting wheel-to-wheel racing. And just as exciting is the way they display these motorcycles at this absolutely magnificent motorsport museum. Hi, I'm Jonathan Green, and along with AMA and former World Superbike champion Scott Russell and Daniel Teal, I'm delighted to bring you our CBS Sports Network coverage of the AMA Pro Racing Series. Now, before we go trackside, I want to look back at what happened in the AMA Superbike Championship of Round 2, which also took place at another iconic circuit, that of Road America, Wisconsin. Josh Hayes on pole, and so too championship leader Herron on the front row. First lap and turn 2, and Hayes asserts himself, nudging Cardenas to take the lead. Moments later, Josh Herring and his points lead would take a trip to the gravel trap. And as the race wound down, it was a battle for third place between number 54 and 72. Roger Hayden, though, winning out on the 54. Josh Hayes, though, marches on to victory and puts his championship hopes back on track. Race 2, and like Race 1, Cardenas grabs the whole shot, but now has the unenviable task of trying to hold Josh Hayes off. Hayes tries round the outside, can't quite make it, and then tries to take the lead on the front straight, but Cardenas is better under brakes. Hayes finally makes it stick and grabs the lead. From there on in, takes the checkered flag and yet another victory. Cardenas second and Herron third. So the points look like this after 2 rounds. Martin Cardenas now has 105. Herron drops to second place on 92. Larry Pegram is third with 75. But the big mover from 18th to 4th in just one weekend, current champion Josh Hayes now has 71 points and is definitely back into contention. Let's head trackside now with Scott Russell.
Jonathan, down here in the KTM HMC pit, you can see Chris Fillmore and Taylor Knapp kind of going over their plans for the weekend. And I'm here with the crew chief of the 11 Chris Fillmores, Ulrich Tupars. I'd like to ask you a little bit about the bike. This is the second year for your team in the sport, and how's the bike coming along?
Hey Scott, the bike is coming along good. We're having a work in progress. That means we do things step by step. We went testing after Road America because Road America was kind of tough for us. And we made some progress at the test, and I hope we can put it to our advantage for this race here.
Well, they're one of the only teams that were out testing in between Elkhart Lake and this round, so we'll see if any of that has made headway with this HMC KTM bike. Over to you, Danielle.
Thanks, Scott. I'm down here in the Road Race Factory Red Bull pits with Danny Walker, riders Jake Gagne and JD Beach, giving a little once-over about the weekend. Danny, ex-racer yourself, down here you're basically stamping out of the Road Race Factory great riders. As an ex-racer yourself, what's the approach and why is it working so well?
Well, that was the original concept behind the Road Race Factory. Was I knew that I didn't really succeed as far as I wanted to in my racing career. I wish I would have had somebody along the way that kind of guided me a little more, kind of kicked me in the butt and kind of kept me straight. And our idea is just to give these guys all the tools that they possibly can. It's a tough industry, and we want to make sure that they succeed and can make a living doing this.
There you have it, stamping out riders of the Road Race Factory. Jonathan, back to you.
Thanks, Danielle. And look what I found in the museum, something typically British, something fast and born out of the 60s. No, not me. These wonderful Triumphs right here. Starting with this, the 1967 Triumph T120 Tt. Now this bike here, although British produced, was actually primarily raced as what's called the desert sled, because it raced in the deserts of California. This one, the 1973 Triumph Daytona T100R. How did it get the name Daytona? Well, it won at the Speedway twice in the mid-60s, and in its time in 1973, it was one of the fastest production bikes in the UK. Now, coming up after the break, a tour of the KTM shop. We feature Mr. Bobier, and a world champion tells us how to ride.
AMA Pro Racing Preview Show on CBS Sports Network is brought to you by Yamaha. Yamaha is the first name in motorsports. And by GEICO. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance. Get a free rate quote today.
Welcome back to the Barber Museum, where I'm particularly interested in this. The Velocipede 1867 Roper, made in Boston, Massachusetts. Steam-powered, coal-fired boiler. Now, can you imagine that? Just think about that for a second. You'd be more worried about blowing up than you would of crashing on something like this. And in fact, actually, this piece could be the first true two-wheel motorcycle. There were some three-wheel versions in Europe, but this could be the original. Well, it puts a lot of great minds to make something like this come together and maintain, for that matter. And of course, things have moved on. Now in 2013, when you look at our stats for here at the AMA, 102 entries, 350 crew members, 3 to each rider, 37 teams, 75 bikes registered, and 45 transporters to haul them around the USA. And that's something like 35 to 40,000 miles per year. And all of them, of course, were at Daytona Sport Bikes for Road America a few weeks ago. Race 1 and 95 JD Beach grabs the whole shot, but goes wide at 5 and allows Cameron Bobier 6 and 32 Jake Gagne to overtake. A great battle behind for 5th place between Garrett Gerloff, Dane Westby and 43 James Rispoli. Westby mixing it up all day long, going into turn 1, overtaking Gerloff here and eventually finishing 5th, but it was Cameron Bobier with the win. On to race 2, and again 95 Beach gets the whole shot. Bobier wins a battle of the brakes against Jake Gagne. But a little later down the track, Bobier gets himself in trouble and almost loses it completely. He recovers, but again gets involved in the rear end of Gagne this time, but manages to survive. Jake Gagne going on to win. Danny Walker, his team manager, excited. Jake Lewis edging out JD Beach for a podium place in 3rd. So the points after 2 rounds, Cameron Bobier with 89 points in those 2 wins. Jake Gagne moves to second place in 74 points, and Garrett Gerloff in third with 57 points. There's some fantastic motorcycles here, but here's one I like. Back in the day, 2004, the 250 AMA era and Rich Oliver's Yamaha. That year, in fact, it ended an era, in fact. He won every race of that season, the final race being here at Barber to end the 250 AMA era. Now, we know that some of you do ride bikes and some of you may not, but if you've always wondered what it's like to ride or try to ride one of these beasts, here's Scott.
Let me give you a little tour around an AMA Superbike, show you some of the controls that these riders have to operate to make these bikes work. First off, here on the right handlebar you have the throttle. Twist it, makes the bike accelerate, off to decelerate. The front brake lever, which is used, 95% of the braking is done with the front brake on these motorcycles. Now this guard here, a couple of years ago, was added due to riders getting into each other, causing big accidents. Down here on the right foot peg, right side of the bike, we have the rear brake. Unlike your street car, where when you touch the brake lever, the front and back brake are activated at the same time, these motorcycle riders have to do that separately. Now let's move over here on the left side of the motorcycle. Looking at the left handlebar kind of looks like a PlayStation game here. That's got a lot of different controls for Josh Hayes can operate the traction control up or down on the fly as he sees fit. The yellow button is for the launch control. He'll hit it one time. That'll allow him to pull the throttle full on and just modulate the clutch as he leaves the starting line. The blue button obviously is the pit road speed limiter to keep the bikes at 45 miles an hour. Clutch lever is used here on the start and during the downshifts. Now, let's take a look down here where the left foot peg is. This is where the shifter is located. There's a lot going on these motorcycles. A standard street shift pattern would be 1 down, 5 up. These riders opt to turn that around where it's first gear would be up, the rest of the gears would be down, because if you're in a long duration corner, left-hand corner, it's hard to get your foot underneath it and make the upshift. This mechanism is called a speed shifter. Now that allows the riders to hold the throttle wide open as they go through the gearbox without ever having to lift the throttle or use the clutch. So that has really made a big deal in lap time over the years. Sounds pretty simple. All you got to do is do that at 180 miles an hour.
Easy for you to say, Scott. Yeah, I'll leave you with that kind of speed. My speed, a little bit slower, perhaps something like this. 1938 BMW pre-war, and here in the restoration shop at the museum. And amazingly, to restore these bikes to their original nature, they've got to get the parts from all over the world, obviously Germany, but far afield is even getting them on eBay, just to make sure that they come together. Now, of course, all the bikes you see racing this weekend come from some shop or another, and when it comes to KTM, their history is all about a series of #1 plates.
Well, of course, we're all after the same goal, which is the AMA Superbike Championship. You know, we're a work in progress right now. We're in our second year. Things are coming along, I think, quite well. We're making steps forward every race weekend. So obviously, our goal is to become a champion. Well, I think, you know, to get a podium would be just awesome. I mean, that's our goal. We want to, you know, prove that our machine is capable and that our riders are capable and our crew is capable. And we think we're close. It's just a matter of putting everything together on one given day. And I think it'll happen this year.
Now, here's a piece of history for you. Back in 2009, on the number 9, Danny Eslick of Oklahoma took Buell to their first and only Pro AMA victory in Daytona sport bikes. In 2010, he was once again involved in what's become known as the Battle of Barber.
So the championship fight basically is wide open once again. What a title fight this series has been.
I mean, it was down to Martine and Josh and myself. You know, it was you know, 3 of us. It could have went anybody's way at that point, and you know, that was the biggest thing. And then to throw the rain at it was a huge curveball.
Watch this.
Oh, these two do not like each other.
Here we go again.
Into the lead. Woo. Wow, what a move!
Whenever the race started, we were dicing back and forth. You know, dirty pass after dirty pass, and
contact again between those two.
You know, it was basically a couple of young egos that weren't going to back down, and me and Josh pretty much had the gloves off, and you know, we were swinging at each other in that one. So
not gonna stick.
No! Oh no!
You know, we finally touched, and I ended up going down, and
the outcome was definitely you know, not the way I wanted it, but you know, when it comes down to racing and championships, you got to do what you got to do.
I was mad in the moment, but thinking back on it, it was cool.
It's just good rivalry, and you know, we'll carry that into the Superbike class. It's just a matter of chasing down Josh Hayes and getting up there and kicking him out of the way before we get the chance to do that.
Coming up, we have the GEICO go-round and a visit with a man on the move, Cameron Beaubier. Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park. Now, AMA Pro Racing has been popular over the years, but there's been a real benchmark moment back in 2004 when Michael Jordan decided to form his own team and cross over between basketball and motorcycle racing. They've been a very successful team over the years. This is their first bike, and here also in the museum, the 2005 version that Jason Pridmore rode. Now that leads us nicely to our other stories this week of our GEICO Go-Round.
There's no question whose pits we're down here in. Roger Hayden, the number 54 on the National Guard Jordan Suzuki. Roger, Barber's a little bit of a sensitive subject for you. Back in 08, you had a major get-off here that basically ended your season from there. But it's also the location of your first pro win. So what are the feelings coming in this weekend? Have you sorted all those bugs out at this point?
Yeah, definitely a little bit of mixed feelings rolling into here. You know, I got my first pro win here, but also broke my back and pelvis and you know, lost my pinky too. So, but that's just part of racing, and you got to block that out when you come here. And, you know, I really like Barber. I like the fans. It's close to home. So, you know, I'm looking forward to putting on a good show. The last couple races haven't went as good as I'd like. So, you know, I'll be ready this weekend.
Looking ready, Roger Hayden.
The Graves Yamaha pit, the two riders, left Josh Herron, right Josh Hayes. But I'm with a guy down here, Pat Muris. Pat, I understand this is your last weekend. Tell us how long you've been driving the truck, how many miles you logged in.
1.5 million miles with Yamaha, 20 years, and it's just time to move on. Got a home to be home to and this and that, but it's been great. Been an awesome company to work for. The team has just been fantastic. You definitely gonna miss these guys, the best guys in the paddock, best company in the paddock, and you know, it's bittersweet, but time for me to move on. But they'll have a great new driver come along, and you know, they'll do well.
The number 85 of Jake Lewis taking a quick pit stop to speak with his team owner, Amin Sejadi. Amin, down here with your rider, you're a young guy, not a lot of experience, but how do you put out such great riders?
Well, Jake's a very talented rider, but with the help from Graves Motorsports and Yamaha, we've been able to get to the position where we are, and I'd like to thank Chuck Graves for all the help he's given us and the experience that comes down from that. So, thank you.
Definitely some great stories in and around the paddock of AMA.
AMA Pro Racing Preview Show on CBS Sports Network is being brought to you by True Value. For tools, products, and expert advice for all your project needs. True Value. Start right, start here. By GEICO. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance. Get a free rate quote today. And by 1-800-MOTORCYCLE. The lawyers at 1-800-MOTORCYCLE remind you to ride safe tonight. 1-800-MOTORCYCLE. Lawyers helping injured riders. Call or click anytime for a free consultation.
Talk about history in the making. Take a look at this. 1992, number 45 Yamaha of Colin Edwards as he won his first AMA title. And of course, he's still making history. Right at the top of MotoGP, a top 10 finish just a couple of weeks ago. Quite an incredible, true American hero. Now, let's take a look back at what happened here at Barber this time last year. Race 1 and number 2, Josh Herron with the whole shot. But in a few turns, it was Hayes on the number 1 machine who takes the lead. The heat starts getting to Josh Herron. Look at him airing his feet out here as Hayes powers on. That was one of 2 wins that weekend. Herron, though, busy cooling off his feet at the end of the race. In Daytona Sportbike, Cameron Beaubier on the number 6 had a bad start, but then started collecting people. Here passing Dane Westby on the number 5 for 4th place. Beaubier tucks in under number 22, Tommy Hayden. And then rockets past the number 40, Jason DeSalvo, for the lead. Beaubier takes the checkered flag on his first Daytona Sport win, one of 2 that weekend. So 2 fantastic wins at the end of 2012, and coming into 2013, the young Californian just wanted people to remember his name.
Oh, there's been a bunch of different ones. Bo Buyer, Boubier, whole bunch of stuff. It's fun. I wouldn't say one of my motivations, but it'd be nice if people got it right the first time.
Boubier really looking good and strong as we expected here in the early stages of this Sport Bike Round 2.
My competitiveness, I feel like carries on like all weekend, really. I always want to be fastest in all the practices, qualifying, and obviously the race. I want to win the race.
2 for 2 then for the man of the moment, Cameron Boubier.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I want to win as many races as I can, and also the championship would be amazing. I'm just gonna take it one race at a time and see where we are at the end of the season.
Cross the line they come again, and here comes the Yamaha this time, around the outside. And Cameron Boubier, the California kid, is trying to surf his way into the lead, which is exactly what he does.
My name's Cameron Boubier, C-A-M-E-R-O-N-B-E-A-U-B-I-E-R.
Well, the races are about to get underway here this weekend from Barber, but since we've been talking about history, I want to see if it's going to repeat itself this year as we head to our predictions with Scott Russell and Danielle Teal.
Jonathan, in Daytona Sport Bike, my pick has to be the number 85 of Jake Lewis. He doesn't qualify so well, but in race time, he's always good to go. Now in Superbike, my pick has to be the number 36 of Martin Cardenas. Scott?
Thanks, Danielle. Well, my prediction for the race this weekend, his name's a guy named Josh, but his last name isn't Hayes. Imagine that.
You know how this works. I'm going to win it this weekend. That's it. Boom!
Nice work, Josh. And for Scott Russell, Danielle Teal, and our entire team, I'm Jonathan Green. For scores, highlights, features, and more, go to cbssports.com. This has been a presentation of AMA Pro Racing, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.